Hi classmates, the strategy that I chose was the read aloud. For my final lesson plan, I am doing community helpers in English with kindergartners, so I chose this book that kind of goes along with my lesson plan. Whose hands are these? A community helper guessing book by Miranda Paul. Hands can wiggle, hands can clap. Hands can rap and flap and tap, but hands can help, so raise yours, please. Can you guess whose hands are these? Hoe and sow, these hands are soiled. Sweep and reap, these hands have toiled. In the barn, these hands are charmers. These hands belong to many farmers. So some of the words that we have on here are hoe and sow. Some of my friends might not know what hoe and sow means. A hoe is, like in the picture here, it is a tool that you use when gardening. And to sow means to plant seeds. So the gardener is planting seeds and they're hoping to reap the benefits or reap what they have planted, which means to harvest or to get up out of the ground. So if they planted certain vegetables like tomatoes here, to reap would mean to pick up the tomatoes once they've grown. And it says these hands have toiled, and toiled means to work very hard, and gardening out in the sun is very hard. Choose, peruse, these hands are picky. Mix and mash, these hands are sticky. These hands flip through food-stained books. These hands belong to gifted cooks. So are there any words here that my friends aren't understanding? Yes? Okay, peruse. Peruse means to look at something very closely and possibly slowly, to really look at it and investigate it would be another word you could use. Stop and go, these hands are waving. Catch that guy, he's misbehaving. These hands help us keep the peace. Hold yours up, it's the police. So misbehaving is a word that some of my friends might not understand. Does anybody know what another word for misbehaving would be? Yes, you do. Yes, you're right. Misbehaving is not following the rules or doing what you know is not right. These hands keep the peace. Does anybody know what keep the peace means? No. Keep the peace is kind of a phrase that we use when we want, between friends, we want everybody to get along. So we kind of keep the peace. You might help others to get along. Quest and test, these hands are turning. Test again, these hands are learning. Weigh and count, their work persists. These hands belong to scientists. Does anybody know what the word persist means? Persist means to continue or keep going. So the scientists have a lot of work to do, so they're going to keep working. Push and play, these hands are shaping. Wet with clay, these hands are scraping. These hands keep on adding water. These hands are of one great potter. Taking notes, these hands are writing. Breaking story, how exciting. These hands can type or hold recorders. These hands belong to news reporters. So if there's a breaking story is something that's happening right now that you're really going to want to follow. It's kind of like the news, and so that's why they call them news reporters. And a lot of times when people are trying to, reporters are going to find out the news, they will use recorders or a little electronic device that they can hold when they are listening to somebody tell their story, and it records the voice so that way they can go back and they can remember what they said. Yank and crank, these hands are smeared. Reach and wrench, they've disappeared. When something breaks, these hands don't panic. These hands belong to a mechanic. So does anybody know what smeared means? Yes, you're right. Smeared does mean it's kind of all over your hands. It's kind of smushed in your hands, or sometimes you have something smeared on your face. Usually when it's something you really like to eat, you might have it on your hands or your face. A lot of times little kids will have stuff smeared, or babies. A wrench is a tool that you use when working on cars, or when you're building things. A lot of builders or construction workers use wrenches along with mechanics. Dream and sketch, these hands draw lines. Stack and build, they form designs. Measure twice, check all the specs. These hands belong to architects. To sketch means to draw something. I'm sure a lot of you in here, you do sketches all the time. Maybe in art class, you draw things and it's called sketching. And does anybody know what specs mean? Yes. Specs mean, it was actually an abbreviation of the word specification. And it means directions or details to something. So architects look at the specs or the details of something all the time before they start work. Arms up high, these hands keep score. Throwing flags, they say no more. Each hand signs and oversees. These hands belong to referees. And referees, they're in charge of sports games, and they make sure that everybody is playing by the rules, and they watch and make sure that everybody is safe, and they keep score of the game. Rub and scrub, these hands are clean. Wearing gloves, these hands are green. These hands all have healing missions. These hands belong to your physicians. Now, healing missions, the word mission is kind of like a job. So a healing mission, if you're going on a healing mission, that means to help make somebody feel better. And a physician is a doctor. Come on in, these hands wave sweetly. Chalked and caked in chalk, these hands write neatly. Pardon me. Caked in chalk. Now, do you think that there's chalk all over a cake, or there is cake on the chalk? What do you think it means by caked in chalk? You're right. Caked on means that it's all over something. It's really not a cake. It could be that the girls have lip gloss caked all over their mouth, and that would mean that they put a lot of lip gloss on. Or if something is caked on, it means that there is a lot. These hands care for kids and creatures. These hands belong to helpful teachers. And who knows what creatures are? Yes, you're right, animals. Greeting, eating, dressing, sharing, cleaning, caring, or repairing. Let your hands try something new. One day, what could your hands do? Now in the book, they're having a job fair. We went over some jobs today in this book, but there are tons of jobs out there. There's a job out there for everyone. And if you study some more books like this and go through them, you might find something that you are interested in. The end. And at the end of the book, you can read through some of the job descriptions of these teachers.